Call the meeting to order. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. All members are present. Approval of the agenda. We have two additions. 7H, approve resolution 2025-112, approving minor subdivision for Canna Avenue. And 9C, eligibility list for law enforcement. That's under new business. Is there any other changes? Council? Do I have a motion to approve the agenda with those two additions?
So, I'll second.
Motion by Brad, second by Joe. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Approval of the minutes of the November 19th, 2025 regular meeting. You all received them in your packet. There was one change on one of the pages that's already been taken care of.
That item C?
Yes. All done on item C on page 3. Yeah, that's all taken care of. Is there any other changes or corrections that need to be done? Hearing nothing, do I have a motion to approve the November 19th, 2025 regular meeting minutes?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Heidi. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Scott. Last minute discussion. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. This now brings us to our public open forum. Is there anyone here that would like to speak to the council? Is there anyone here that would like to speak to the council? Call a third time. Is there anyone here that would like to speak to the council? Seeing no one, our public open forum is now closed. Move on. We do have one public hearing. I will recess the regular meeting and go into our public hearing. We have one public hearing before us this evening in accordance with the official mailed and public notice in the matter of proposed total budget and property taxes payable in 2026. It is our intention that everyone has the opportunity to be heard. If you wish to speak, please sign in on the sign-up sheet at the back of the room. The procedure is as follows. Presentation by staff, followed by questions of staff, then public input. Raise your hand. When recognized by the mayor, approach the podium and state your name and address for the record. State your comments and position. No one will be allowed to speak a second time until everyone has had a chance to be heard. First, we will hear questions for clarification. Second, public in favor of the proposal. Third, people speaking against the proposal. After everyone who wishes to speak has had an opportunity to be heard, the hearing will be closed. After closure of the public hearing, the council will deliberate and take action as appropriate. Members of the audience do not participate in the council's discussion unless a majority of the council concedes to hear additional information or questions. The hearing is now in session. Vicki?
So this public hearing is for the presentation of the proposed budget for 2026 along with the proposed tax levy. This will afford the public an opportunity to address the council regarding the proposed budget and the levy for 2026. The budget is broken into 5 pieces. Part 1 is the general fund, which is for general operations of the city. This includes police, fire, general administration, zoning administration, streets, parks, and related operations that are under the purview of general government. The budget saw an operational increase over the prior year of 2.86%. This was after the last meeting when we had our preliminary meeting. We got finalized insurance numbers for the property, the casualty, the liability, the insurance for health insurance, dental, all of those kinds of insurances. And once we factored those into the budget, I was able to make some changes to it. So from the time that we were at the meeting before to now, Now this shows revenues over expenses of approximately $3,000. So we were able to close that gap by able to reduce some expenses that we had initially had. Factors that play into the fluctuation in the general fund when we saw that operational increase was those wages, insurance, utilities. Although the expenses were up slightly, we were able to reduce the levy for the general fund. So we were able to reduce the levy by $28,476. This was because we had other revenue streams. We had some grants we were able to secure, plus we had an increase in campground revenues that helped offset some of those other costs. Part 2 is the special revenue fund. These are other parts of the city that are separate from the general fund: the library, the fire department, the EDA, the airport, the ambulance, the senior center, the hospital, along with the small city development program grants, the stormwater utility, the sales tax, all of these, and they all remain fairly consistent. However, we do have one is a bit substantial, and that was we're transferring money out of the sales tax fund into the Trunk Highway 71 fund to start paying for those engineering fees. And that was something that was planned all along. The levy remains the same, or close to the same. We had a $500 decrease in special revenue. Part 3 is the TIF district. We have 3 open TIF districts and 1 inactive TIF district. The funding is a pass-through. It's depending on taxes paid. The more they pay in, the more they get refunded. So that's not dependent on tax levy at all, but it is a substantial section of our budget. Part 4 is debt. Our debt service expenses increased for 2026 due to the new bond for the 2025 Birch and Pine Street project that added $350,000 to the levy. However, with the prior bond no longer requiring levy, the net impact to the debt service is an increase of $234,000. So that is where we saw the increase in our levy. And if you recall, the year prior, when we made the decision to do 2025, we stood here and you made that conscious decision that you understood there would be a levy increase from that project. Part 5 is the capital projects. Our projects in 2026, and Warren alluded to this earlier, will be finalizing the Birch Pine project, which is the second lift, and some other odds and ends that have to be done. But then we're going to be ramping up the Highway 71 project. We'll be spending a significant amount of engineering to try to get that project rolling. Overall, the capital project funds did decrease from $9.5 million to $2.7 million, and that is because all of the money we spent in 2025 on Birch and Pine. These projects are not dependent on tax levy, but they are a part of the budget. The grand total for 2026 expenses are projected at $12.6 million. The proposed levy to support this budget is $2.889 million, so an increase of $205,000. This is the same levy as the preliminary budget meeting, an overall increase of 7.6%. The tax impact to the homeowners on this, and I did give you the tax impact, because we had a 6.95% increase in taxable market value for the city due to growth and new businesses. That really helps cut some of those costs. The tax impact is $8.33 on a $200,000 house, $18.93 on a $400,000 house. So that's over a period of a year. In comparison to other cities in Stearns County, there's 14 have a lower tax rate and 16 have a higher tax rate. We're kind of right in the middle. We've stayed at an average rate of 48% for the last about 10 years. We've remained fairly consistent. However, that doesn't necessarily mean your taxes didn't go up, because your value does go up, and that rate is applied to your value to generate your taxes. Some of the questions that people had asked me that I didn't include in the packet was, where the tax dollars go. Of course, a little goes to the library, the EDA, the senior center, the arena. A significant amount, 28.8% of that levy, goes to debt. The balance of it goes to the general fund, police, streets, parks, general government. I did a calculation. If you had a $3,000 tax bill at home, like a $250,000 house, a $3,000 tax bill, you're paying $18 a month for police protection to the city, $11 for streets, $9 for parks, and $17 for general government. When we try to break it down, so people want to always compare it to, how does it compare to my garbage bill? How does it compare to my light bill? How does it compare to these? They see that one bill once a year, and it's kind of a hit. But if you try to break it down for those that are in escrow, that's what you're paying. In addition to the tax impact that I gave you and the tax rate trends, you also had the revenues and expenses at the preliminary meeting, which we really only changed the general fund, where we were able to reduce the expenses somewhat to make that budget work. Do you have any questions on the what I've said so far.
Questions?
Just the correction, I think in the packet, it says 12.965 million is the projected 2026 expenses. You had said 12.6.
Oh, 12.996, yeah.
So the 12.96 is correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions or questions? Concerns? Okay, then we will move on to asking the public. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor or against or needs clarification on what was just presented? Sure. You want to come up to the podium and state your name and address, please?
My name's Anna Lee. My address is 10882 County 11 Sauk Center. My question is, what exactly is a tax levy? Or is there a difference between tax levy and just saying tax?
Okay. Vicki, you want to explain that?
the tax levy? Yes.
Versus what is tax? Tax versus a tax levy.
So the tax levy is the total amount that the city puts forth, a tax levy. This is how much taxes we need to collect, a total amount to the county. The county submits a total amount they need to collect. The school submits a total amount they need to collect. So that's what we levy and then the county takes that and they distribute it out based on the value of your home, who pays what share, whose piece of the pie, and then that money comes back to us. So the levy really is taxes. It's just the levy is the process that we use. We levy taxes against you, and that's how that we arrive at that. I don't know if that answered your question, but, okay.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else that wants to speak to the council in favor or against or needs clarification on what was presented? Call a third time. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor, against, or needs clarification on what was presented? Seeing no one, does the council have any last-minute questions or concerns? Then we will close our public hearing and go reconvene our regular council meeting. Moving on to reports and presentations. Mark Maloney.
And Mark is here from Minnesota National Agency as our agent. I did send out to you additional information that he sent to me that was stuck in my spam folder, but then also given to you for you tonight. And so he's going to explain our property and casualty insurance and also asking you about excess liability and waiver of the tort liability limit.
Thank you, Vicki. Good evening, Mayor Stone and Council. Just want to talk about a few things, a few changes for next year. The LMCIT, the League of Minnesota Cities Trust, normally pays dividends every December based on their claims history and the give back. The trustees have decided to wait until June of 2026 to make decisions about whether to return their program dividends to members for the fiscal year of 2025. This change aligns with the trust's recent transition to a calendar year fiscal schedule and allows for a more accurate assessment of financial performances across the full fiscal period. In addition, given the current market uncertainty and volatility and potential changes to FEMA and other programs, this timing ensures the trust can make a well-informed decision that best serves members' long-term interest and financial stability. So I don't know if they let you know in advance, but I thought I'd let you know tonight. Those checks usually come out in December. So good news. Rates for 2026, this came out with the announcement. Workers' comp programs remain very financially stable. Most job classes will see a 25% rate decrease in 2026. And for the property casualty, the overall property casualty rates are decreasing on average 2%. 5% decrease in property, with exception of the electric utilities, electric utility property, and there will be a 10% increase for generation facilities and combustion turbine risks, 5% for electric utilities, which doesn't pertain to the city, but just information for you. Auto damage, physical damage will increase 10% due to the loss trends across the auto insurance industry. Mostly because the cost of cars are going up about 10% in the last, since the pandemic. Excess liability will increase at 4%, and this is due to the nuclear decisions by courts, and so those limits are getting used more often. And there's no rate changes for liability coverage or any other property casualty coverage. So, the next item to discuss is the liability coverage and whether the city wants to waive or not to waive the monetary limits for the statutes provide, and the city can choose from several liability coverage limits. So each year I use the same presentation. What are the statutory limits on municipal tort liability? It'd be good for the students here to know, but the statute limits a city's tort liability to a maximum of $500,000 per claimant and $1.5 million per occurrence. These limits apply whether the claim is against the city, against individual officers or employees, or against both. What are other coverage limits for League of Minnesota Cities base primary liability? The LMCIT's liability coverage will provide $2 million per occurrence. Besides the overall coverage limit of $2 million per occurrence, there's also an annual aggregate limit. And the limits are total amount of coverage for the year regardless of the number of claims that the city would have. And then for certain risk, there's actually higher limits. Products, failure of supply utilities, data breach, EMF, limited pollution, mold are all $3 million. And employers' liability, work comp is $1.5 million, and land use and activities are $1,100,000. So why does the League of Minnesota Cities provide higher coverage limits than the statutory limits? And the reason is to give member cities better protection. The statutory liability limits caps the city's liability for many types of claims, but some liability claims which are listed in the next section aren't covered by statutory limits. So the city's potential liability is unlimited. So the higher limit is also, also protects against a major incident in which many people might be injured. The $2 million per occurrence limit gives the city better protection for these types of claims and makes it less likely the city would end up with liability exceeding its coverage limits. Another reason to provide higher limits is because it's increasingly more common to see contracts that require more than the statutory 1.5 million limit, and then 2 million is more common. And so the limits will meet this requirement. If the statute limits if the statute limits our liability and the LMC limits already provide higher limits than required, why purchase even more limits? There are 4 good reasons why the city should strongly consider carrying the excess coverage, which provides higher limits of liability. Excess coverage is available in 1 million increments and a maximum of 5 million. So the other 4 reasons, the statutory tort limits either do not or may not apply to several types of claims, and the following situations would apply. So claims under federal civil rights laws, claims for tort liability that the city has assumed by contract, claims for actions in another state, claims based on liquor sales, claims based on taking theory. There's a table on the back section that addresses the combination and which aggregates apply. So if the city does not have excess coverage and does not waive the statutory limits, the maximum amount a single claimant would recover is $500,000. And the maximum aggregate is $1.5 million. This maximum amount would pay on the city's behalf for a single occurrence regardless would be $2 million. If the city does not have excess coverage and waives the statutory limits, $2 million would be paid per occurrence, and per aggregate would be $2 million, and then the maximum amount paid would be $2 million. If the city has $1 million of excess coverage and does not waive, $500,000 would be paid for a single claimant, $1.5 for the amount of all claimants, and then $3 million for the occurrence, regardless of the number of claimants. And then if they have $1 million of excess coverage and waive the statutory limits, they could pay $3 million in all three of those scenarios. So excess liability coverage gives the city additional protection against those risks as well. So the city may be required by contract to carry a higher coverage limits of $2 million and will meet most contract requirements, but even higher limits are required. They can purchase that excess liability. And then the fourth reason they would want to have this is there may be more than one political subdivision covered under the city's coverage. Like example, in HRA or EDA, Port Authorities, they're separate divisions. The city's EDA is named and the coverage is part of the city's coverage, and the claimer could be involved with the city. There's no waiver. So, and then who needs liability, excess liability coverage? If anything, the excess liability coverage is even more important to a small city rather than a large city. If the city ends up with more liability and has coverage, the city will have to either draw from existing funds or go to the taxpayers to pay the judgment. So, and then what are the effects of waiving per claimant statutory limit? For cities that choose to waive statutory limits, the city is choosing to waive protection of the statutory limits up to the amount of the coverage the city has. Someone with a claim against the city has waived the statutory limits would be able to recover $2 million. And because the waiver increases the exposure, the premium is roughly 3% higher for coverage under the waiver option. And then why would you choose to pay more than the waiver option? The statutory limit liability only comes into play in cases where the city is in fact liable and the injured party's actual proven damages are greater than the statutory limits. So it's not that simple, but the table that I gave you is a shorthand summary of effects that would be of various coverage structure options or different circumstances. So if you want to use that as your guide, that's the best way. In the past, the city has waived, and they have also chosen to purchase the excess liability of $1 million. Again, you could purchase up to $5 million, but at this time, that's what you've chosen.
Okay.
Any questions? It's a lot.
Questions?
A lot of stuff that most people don't understand.
Questions, concerns?
We'll probably get into it on the action items for additional staff questions, or you want to do that now?
It's, if it's something that we gotta ask him, I might as well do it now.
So for 2025, we paid an additional $13,000 forward, is that how I'm reading?
Yeah.
Say that again?
Correct? For, and then, so for 2026, what is that cost? Am I missing something?
What kind, if we paid 13,000 for 2025, what's 2026 gonna
Rate.
cost us?
What's the rate?
Oh, for the excess?
Yeah,
Yeah, it will be 4% more.
4%.
Yeah, that was,
Okay.
Yeah, it's the back page. Yeah, excess liability will increase 4%.
All right.
Okay. To give you an idea?
Yeah.
Okay,
But you're gonna make up for it on your property and
right,
and then the work comp is huge,
for the decreases on that.
25%.
We'd get decreases on them with the excess, but would not receive that decrease.
Say that again?
We would not receive the decreases on those additional,
That's separate.
It's separate, yeah.
We're gonna get those decreases.
no
anyway.
matter what.
Yeah, you
So it really isn't gonna
Yeah, I was
impact
just
this.
going line by line.
Okay.
So you should
That's
overall
correct.
see at least, at an average, they're seeing a 2% decrease overall.
Yeah.
Except the work comp is about 25%. I think there's some areas, certain individuals in maybe firefighting or law enforcement that may not, because there's a lot of post-traumatic stress that's been paid out of there, but that has been going down.
It's two separate items, basically. The first ones are overall insurance report, and then the other one is the waive, so.
Yep.
4% increase would be $536.
Right.
13,949 would be the number.
And just looking at those numbers and what's happened in Minnesota, we didn't have any major storms in this year across the entire state. It was near misses in rural areas. So I imagine the dividends will probably be pretty good
Right.
when they come. They're just coming late.
Yeah, that's another reminder, we'll hopefully get our dividend in June
Yeah, you should.
here.
Has there been a year we haven't received the dividend?
Not my last 12 years.
No,
We've had years in the like 2008
Right.
realm.
Oh,
Okay.
The years of frozen levy.
Gotcha. Thank you.
okay, any last minute questions? Otherwise, thank you, Mark.
thank you.
We'll go on to the city engineer report, which is Vicky tonight.
So Keith isn't here tonight. He did email a little bit where he's at. He did provide the author's edition, phase two, so some questions, we'll talk about that later. But I didn't get this till today, so the EDA meeting ended up being canceled, so they haven't had a chance to chime in on it yet. So we'll talk about that a little bit. As far as the Trunk Highway 71 feasibility report, he says they've completed the draft sanitary and water main layout for the entire project. The preliminary storm sewer is complete, everything south of the river, except that part east of Ash on 8th Street that goes out to this river by the school. They're working on the north side, which would be from the river going north. There will be some more meetings with MnDOT team to coordinate the details, but we have a really good foundation, he said, for determining costs. So he's getting close. Remember that feasibility report he thought we'd see in February? The meeting with the council is next week on the 10th, you remember that, to talk about the streets and the walks. He has those drafts complete. And so some remaining items is that north side storm, the 8th Street from Ash to the river, the split estimates with, MnDOT takes care of a lot of the street costs and we do the utility costs, but the storm is split. We're trying to work out what that split percentage is fair. They'll cover what's on the street, but then we cover everything that drains to the street. So we'll see what that number looks like. And then we'll have hopefully some preliminary cost estimates for us next week. And then once they get that report prep, after we tell them what streets all to include, we should have that either January or February, we'll see that feasibility report and we'll really know what our expectation costs are, which falls right in line with that whole sales tax conversation. So other than that, he'll be here next week, so we'll have that meeting.
Vicki, just a comment on that. I know when you go east of ash on 8th Street. That storm runs kitty corner across properties, underneath just about houses and pools and everything else. You know, whatever we decide to do there is definitely going to have some impacts.
What the plan is preliminarily on that, because it goes into Ash Street, and right where you're saying, it takes an angle and goes cross-country in a 30-inch line.
Yep.
That line we will continue to use, but we'll supplement with a new line that we hope to go straight east and go out past the school. So it will impact, the only property will be school property that will be impacting. We won't be going across the other private property. Those other ones will remain active, but they won't take the majority of the flow anymore,
All right, thank you for the
unless you want to buy
clarification.
some houses.
Nope. But I have had some of those property owners talk with me, so I just wanted to make note of that.
Okay, any other questions? All right, we'll move on to our action items. 7A, approve waiver of excess liability.
So this was what Mark was talking about. You have it's kind of like a two-part question. Do you want to waive the tort limit, the statutory tort limit, and then do you want to purchase the excess liability, which is like an umbrella? You know, the tort limit and the waiver, all of that has to be, and it really applies more to if you have a multi-incident thing. A squad car's in an accident with 3 other vehicles and multiple people get hurt, or a plow truck, or something that we're liable for, but involves multiple people where they could get awarded in court a lot of damages. That's really where the umbrella comes from. You know, we don't, some of the other things the umbrella covers, we're not as at risk as we are on that type of thing. So that's why the councils in the past voted to purchase the excess liability insurance. You certainly don't have to, but we have consistently done so in many years. So that's the question before. Do you want to continue to waive that tort liability and purchase that excess liability insurance, which was 13,413 plus 4%? So,
Okay. Comments, questions? Otherwise, I'll look for a motion on that item. Waive tort limit and purchase excess liability insurance is what we've done for the last,
I'll make that motion to waive the tort limit and purchase excess liability.
okay, we have a motion by Heidi. Do I have a second? I'll second it. Any other last minute discussion?
You know, we talk a lot about insurance. How much do you have? What do you what do you pay for it? What's the right amount? And it's always a tough conversation, right? Because you hope you never have to use it. So you purchase it and you don't want to use it, but you pay $13,000, $14,000 a year for it. That's why I just want to note that it's kind of everybody may have a different thought about how much insurance or how much risk we have. And
Well, we got a lot of real estate, we got a lot of vehicles, everything, that it all adds up and anything could happen at any point in time.
yeah, I'm not opposed to it. It's just, if you look at it over the years, and my mind's just going tenfold, right? 130,000, whatever that number might have been over the last 10 years. Again, it's an insurance blanket, is really what it is, and you have to have that. But just wanted to throw that out there, I guess, for a comment.
Okay. Any other discussion? Otherwise, I have a motion and a second. I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Aye.
Motion carries 4 in favor, none against, 1 abstention. 7B, approve resolution 2025-107, approving the 2026 levy.
So the levy presented is the same as the preliminary levy that was adopted on September 17th. Total 2026 levy of $2,889,255. This is resolution 2025-107, adopting the final tax levy for taxes collectible in 2026.
Questions, concerns? Otherwise, do I have a motion to approve resolution 2025-107?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Scott. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Joe. Last minute discussion. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7C, approve resolution 2025-108.
So this is the updated budget, incorporated the changes from the preliminary as a result of the insurance and other adjustments for a total expense budget of $12,965,356.30. Of that, the general fund is $4,721,502.30. The balance is sinking fund, special revenue, TIF, debt service, and capital projects. This is a resolution 2025-108, accepting or adopting the 2026 final budget for all funds as presented, and the resolution lists every single fund individually for you.
Questions, concerns? Do I have a motion to approve resolution 2025-108?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Heidi, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Joe?
Yep.
Okay, seconded by Joe. Last minute discussion?
I think we work hard to try to decrease this fund, or our budget. Personally, I was hoping we could get lower. It's a tough animal. Again, like we just been talking about, everything costs money. But I was hoping we could do a little bit more than where we ended, so just my comment.
Well, most of it, I think, is because of the project we just got done, which 3 of us knew about before we got into this point, so that's
Fair
where the
enough.
increase was, so. Things need to get fixed. Any other discussions? Got a motion and a second. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions? Motion carries 4 in favor, 1 against. 7D, approve resolution 2025-109, approving inter-fund transfers.
So each year at year end, the city council approves transfers between funds. These include that fire department to the debt service. That's their final payment toward the city hall bond. We take money from the stormwater utility for the 2012 4th Street project. We do have money in the sinking fund, which was for the PD cameras for a grant we got a few years ago, and then we put so much back each year into the fund to cover that year's costs. Also, we had money in the sinking fund for the siren and for a parks mower, so those funds will all come back into the general fund. And going the opposite direction, the street and the parks both had budgeted to put money into the sinking fund for future projects. So we like buy a plow truck and that type of thing. The EDA has a operating transfer to the projects fund for an abatement payment for the Main Streeters apartment. The final payment will be in 2026 and will only be about $11,000. Then that will be complete. We do have, the TIF fund does pay the general fund $2,500 a year for administering the TIF districts. The airport operations fund puts capital money into the hangar project of $15,000. We're closing that ARPA fund. That was the money, the federal money that we received. There's $78,000 left in there that was coming back into the building fund to do the air exchanger that we did this year. Then we're closing another bond fund that we had paid off. There's a few residual dollars. We'll just transfer that to another bond fund to help settle that debt. The EDA project fund, the street project, that was that Canna Avenue project that was done. Keekly did the work, and now the EDA is paying that project fund back that money. We did from the hospital fund some operating dollars to the library and arena. And then that sales tax fund to Trunk Highway 71 that I talked about earlier, we take that sales tax money and put it in the project fund for engineering. So the total interfund transfers for 2025, $1,112,400.07. That's resolution 2025-109, authorize the interfund transfers for 2025.
Questions? Concerns? Do I have a motion to approve resolution 2025-109?
So moved.
Motion by Brad, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Heidi. Last minute discussion. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7E, approve resolution 2025-110, approving accounts receivable adjustments.
And this is something also at the year end that we do to remove bad debt from accounts receivable. Many of these have already been sent by city action earlier to special assessments. There's some that will be written off, which are like some finance charges where people paid the bill and didn't pay quite all the finance charges if they crossed in the mail, et cetera. And then also some that will be sent to collections that we can't certify as for taxes. We have a total amount of $7,399.76 that we're requesting to write off as bad debt. If we do collect them through collections or we do collect them through special assessments, then they go back in as new revenue. So that's Resolution 2025-110, approving those adjustments to accounts receivable.
Questions, concerns? Do I have a motion to approve Resolution 2025-110?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Joe, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Scott. Last minute discussion? Call the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7F, approve Resolution 2025-111, approving minor subdivision.
So Harland and Jennifer Hector have requested that their parcel of land at 300 and 304 Birch Street North be subdivided into 2 parcels. The parcel is approximately 29,063 square feet in size. It's zoned R1 single and 2-family residential, and a certificate of survey has been provided. It's been developed with a twin home with a proposed property line division located within the wall adjoining the 2 units. All zoning criteria for lot size, setbacks, and impervious coverage have been met. Upon approval, the property will be split and can be sold individually. This is Resolution 2025-111, approving that minor subdivision.
Questions, concerns?
This didn't go to planning and zoning?
And when it's not a public hearing required and they meet all the criteria, it just comes straight to the council.
All right.
Any other questions, concerns? Everyone knows where this property is located. The only concern I had was I asked Vicki earlier is whether or not after you make that subdivision, if something would happen to that building, if that smaller lot was still gonna be able to be built on and not end up being a non-compliant lot. And she said it would be able to be built on. It wouldn't have to be connected with the other one, so it would meet all the setbacks. So with that, no other questions. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution 2025-111?
So moved.
Motion by Brad, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Heidi. Last minute discussion? Call the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7G, approve appointment of paramedic.
So Kathy Struppert, the ambulance director, has requested the following. She states Daniel Starka is a licensed paramedic who now resides in the Sauk Center community. He has previous experience working on an ambulance service in the Cross Lake area. Daniel is interested in becoming a part of the Sauk Center ambulance service. We believe he would be an asset to our service to assist us with ALS medical calls and ALS transfer needs. Pending a positive background and reference check, we would like to recommend Daniel to be hired as a part-time paramedic for our service, starting at the current EMT level 4 rate for non-ALS calls and paramedic level 1 pay when on ALS calls. So the request is to appoint Daniel Starka as paramedic as presented.
Questions, concerns? Do I have a motion to appoint Daniel Starka?
So moved.
Motion.
Motion by Heidi, second by Scott. Last minute discussion?
Sure, it's great to see people volunteer, want to get on experience, because you don't always see that.
That's right.
Especially paramedic. I think this is
Exactly.
number 4?
5.
5.
5 paramedics, that's pretty
That's
pretty
awesome.
big.
Call the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7H, approve resolution 2025-112, approving minor subdivision.
So in the preparation of the construction of Tractor Trail and Canna Avenue, including the drainage pond, the owner granted the city an easement. The owner's attorney has now reached out with a proposal that the property be deeded to the city rather than remain an easement. that arrangement would be preferable to us as well. So it would be a dedicated road now instead of just an easement over the property. I think his motivation for that was if he doesn't own it anymore, he doesn't pay taxes on it. So, smart move. So I do have a copy of the survey, and the legal description was prepared by Stantec, along with Resolution 2025-112 approving the subdivision. The reason I need to have the subdivision approved this way is the county won't record that deed unless the city council grants it. Otherwise, people would be at the county recording lot splits all the time. So they have parcel A, which is the drainage parcel, parcel B, which is the road parcel, and then, of course, the remainder parcel that is there. So that's Resolution 2025-112 approving the minor subdivision.
Questions, concerns? Do I have a motion to approve Resolution 2025-112?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Joe, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Brad. Last minute discussion. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. We have no unfinished business. We then move on to new business. Budget for Authors Edition Phase 2, Final Plat and Infrastructure.
You know, because I just got that today and the EDA hasn't had a chance to review it, I'd recommend that we table this until the EDA has a chance to meet and review the costs.
We don't really need to have action. It says information, so
Yeah, just consensus.
general consent that we'll wait till the information is in front of us. Okay. 9B, Personnel Committee Performance Appraisals.
Just a little bit update on the Personnel Committee. They met and they're going to be conducting interviews with all the non-union employee administrative staff as a precursor to a more formal performance appraisal process. The more formal part will probably happen after the first of the year. And then the job description are all being reviewed for potential amendments, up to and including potential grade adjustments. So they've been looking at all of the non-union. It's been some time since that's all been reviewed. So, you know, there's potentially some grade adjustments that are going to come out of that. So just kind of information only at this time.
Questions on that? Okay. And then 9C, eligibility list for law enforcement.
And this is also more information or kind of a general consent item, is that our eligibility list is old, or we've hired everybody off of it for the fire, or for the police department. I think we have for the fire department too, now that I think about it.
Close.
But anyway, so we want to get working on that eligibility list for the police department pending future retirements and whatever else may happen at the police department. So just kind of information to get your blessing to go down that road and get that list worked on.
General consensus?
We will, we got one coming up, so.
Okay, general consent, go ahead, do it. Do what you gotta do, Joe. That brings us to our consent agenda. We have a schedule of claims, unpaid claims of $149,929.22. We have resolution number 2025-112, accepting contributions of $130.75 from the men's card playing group to be allocated to the senior center, $100 from Sandra Thomas family to be allocated to the shade tree department, and $500 from Dan Welly Southdown to be allocated to the ambulance department. And on behalf of the city council and the rest of the city, I want to thank those people or groups for their donations. Is there any questions about the consent agenda as presented? Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Joe, seconded by Scott. Any last minute discussion? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Informational items, the workshop.
Just one reminding you that next week, a week from tonight at 5 o'clock, Keith Yap will be here. We'll be talking about all those side street connections to the trunk Highway 71. He'll have some estimates of costs. So that'll be our time that we're like, talk to each one and say, why is it important to connect this a certain way? Or can we put that off till a future date? So
Okay.
hopefully he'll have that, because then the following meeting on the 17th, MnDOT will be here to make the presentation on what the advisory board has been seeing up to this point. So they'll be here in person to make a presentation and provide you some maps and some information on what that project's going to look like.
Okay,
Vicky, would it be possible to get that presentation prior so that I could look at it and feed my comments since I will not be here on Wednesday?
I will talk to Keith and get as much as I can for you.
I'd like to at least be able to share my thoughts as I won't be here. I will be out of town.
Okay.
any other questions? Okay, that brings us to the end of our agenda. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Brad, seconded by Scott.
Sorry, Scott.
I call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. 5 in favor, none against. Meeting adjourned.